Toyota's legacy has been standing tall for generations. From pioneering hybrid technology to redefining the standards of safety and efficiency, each innovation a renewed commitment to progress. And with Toyota's legendary lineup of trucks in stock at your local Toyota dealer, you can experience the legacy for yourself. So check out the ultra-rugged new 2024 Tacoma, built for off-road adventure or everyday practicality. Or test drive a heavy-duty half-ton 2024 Tundra, decked out with modern tech and comfort, with a haul-anything attitude. And both Tacoma and Tundra are available with the iForce Max Hybrid powertrain, giving your truck more power than ever before. Quality, reliability, efficiency. That's the legacy of Toyota. Visit buyatoyota.com, the official website for deals, to find out more. Or stop by your local Toyota dealer today. Toyota. Let's go places.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show, starring Bob Lutz.
My parents, there were times I was convinced they'd forgotten my name. Oh, my goodness. That's A-level stuff. I'll do an arena show. The first arena that calls me to do a show, I'm in.
You can do this, but to be more accurate, you probably can't.
Jeff Lutz.
Okay, well, you don't be staying up late waiting for that call, please. What dimension are you living in right now?
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Stand by for action.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's a Tuesday. It's the Bob and Jeff Show here on KFH Radio. Happy to have you along. Bob Lutz, Jeff Lutz, co-hosting, Max Power, producing, engineering the show. As we get going here on a very cold day, but the temperatures are now supposed to be warming for the foreseeable future. We can hold some hope in that.
It's all relative.
What does that mean?
It's still going to be cold. It's just not going to be as cold.
Yeah, but it's going to be warmer, not as cold.
Right.
We don't want...
It's not like we're getting up to the 60s or even the 50s.
No, but we're getting into the 40s.
Barely into the 40s. It's,
and then I saw 50 sometime next week.
I don't know if you saw that.
Well, I did. I trust my Weather Channel app.
I thought I saw maybe a 70. No, that was you. I was looking at you.
Is that supposed to be funny?
I don't know.
Well, how do you feel about that?
I don't know. You have my age on your hat.
52 on the 1st of February.
That's exciting.
Of course, that's a long time away, but
I hope that works out for everybody. That's next, Friday?
What do I have on my hat?
My age, 42.
Well, that's a League 42 hat.
I understand, but that'll be for all year.
Yeah, you're 42.
It's a good age.
When I was 42, 1997 was the year. I was a year into being the sports columnist at the Wichita Eagle. Felt like life was pretty good at the time.
Absolutely.
And how old would you have been?
14.
14, 15?
Yeah, I would turn 15 late in the year.
Coaching summer baseball.
The first year of the Cyclones.
Second year.
Oh, it was the first year.
You sure about that? I thought 96 was the first year.
No, 95.
97 was the second year.
No.
You played for the Stingers in 94 and 95.
No, 95 and 96.
That's not
yes,
not
it
accurate.
is.
I will guarantee you.
I will bet you
any amount of money.
Okay, name it. Name the amount.
I coached the Cyclones in 96, 97, 98, and 99.
That is incorrect.
That is absolutely correct.
It's not.
I will guarantee it.
Okay, you said you name any amount of money. Go ahead and name it.
$4 million.
How about $150?
You played for Dave Martin in 94, 95.
Incorrect.
That's not incorrect.
I was 11 in 94. That was our last year at Duke's Diamond or whatever it was called. I was 12 in 95. We went to Minnesota in 1995 when I was 12. We played with the Stingers one more year after that when I was 13.
Nah, you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Here's what we have for you on the show today. At 5:20, Manny Safaris. He was a member of the 1964-65 Wichita State Final Four basketball team. They are gathering in Wichita next month to celebrate that 60-year anniversary. And we'll talk with Manny, a seldom used guard, but nonetheless a guy that has been an ambassador for that team throughout all these years.
If he was seldom used, that means he was still used.
Right. You know what seldom used is like.
I do?
No, I was I was always used.
Until you got cut.
I was used. So let's just say that.
Oh, I believe it.
So anyway, we look forward to having Manny on at 5:20. At 5:40, Anthony Castrovents from Major League Baseball, MLB.com, will join us. We'll talk about the Hall of Fame. Those selections are going to be announced a little bit later today. Looks like 4. Looks like Ichiro, Beltran, Wagner, and
Sabathia.
You
think Beltran's going to get in?
I do.
What's he sitting at right now? Because his is going to drop a lot on non-public ballots.
I don't know, but I was
the sanctimonious
crew.
crew.
I was listening to MLB radio this morning, and they were pretty confident in Carlos Beltran.
Well, I hope it happens for him.
I think he was at close to 80%.
But I know the cowards who don't put their name on things are usually the ones that, he banged a trash can.
Well, listen, I love Carlos Beltran, but he did cheat.
Fine, whatever.
I'm not a big cheating guy, as you can
that's
tell.
Great. You know how hard baseball is to just, we banged on a trash can, we became world champs.
So you're all for cheating?
I'm not all for cheating, but it simplifies the issue in a way that it doesn't need to be simplified.
Answer this. Are you for cheating?
Sure, if it helps you win, absolutely.
Really? You're saying that on the record?
Why not? I enjoy winning, doesn't everybody?
So cheating is okay?
Is it
what
cheating?
about cheating on your taxes?
Have I ever done that?
Probably.
I don't know. I wouldn't.
Since you don't have a problem with it.
I wouldn't even know how.
Hey, IRS, if you're listening, I'd check into this guy.
I know
who
so
has publicly said cheating is okay.
I know so little about taxes. I wouldn't even know how to cheat on my taxes.
Well, that's another.
Do you just not pay them? Is that what
that's
cheating on your taxes?
That's another warning sign.
Why?
Because you're trying to act like you don't know anything. I'd be all over you. IRS, if you're listening today, call me and I'll give you Jeff's information.
I'm sure they have it.
Well, you might want to call me.
No, I don't think they'll call you.
I don't like cheaters.
Okay. I don't know what to tell you.
You know, why isn't Mark McGwire in the Hall of Fame? Because he cheated.
Sanctimonious people.
That's not sanctimonious.
You know what? We're putting guys in. Harold Baines. Let's put in Scott Rowland. He's a fine player, whatever. But how about here's a novel concept. What if the Hall of Fame was just for the best players?
Scott Rowland's a much better player than Harold Baines, by the way.
Fine.
My God.
But he's
really?
not.
That's the comparison you're coming up with?
I'm just saying, is he as good as Alex Rodriguez? Is he as good as Manny Ramirez?
You know why he's better? Because
he's not.
when he brushes his teeth, he has to turn the lights on. That's why.
I don't know what that means.
You know what it means.
I don't get it.
A-Rod can brush his teeth without flipping the lights.
Because his teeth are so bright,
yeah,
he takes care of
got radiation.
Takes care of his teeth
after all these years.
Like Ross Geller and Friends.
Exactly.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
Listen, I'm not a cheating guy. You know that.
Great.
Quit trying to talk me into it.
But I don't like all these. I'm better than you. I'm the gatekeeper of this Hall of Fame. And if you took a pill or rubbed some cream on your leg, that means I'm better than you, and you're not in the Hall of Fame.
It'll be fun to talk to Anthony Castrovents. We'll also talk to him about the Dodgers, who today look like they're signing Kirby Yates to their bullpen. If you're a free agent and you're not signing with the Dodgers, you've missed out. They're getting everybody.
They've gotten everybody they've wanted. I don't think they've missed on anybody. I don't think they were second in the bidding.
How do you just go sign everybody?
Because you have endless amount of money.
All these owners have an endless amount of money.
No, they don't have the
most of them
$1 billion television deal that the Dodgers have.
They all have enough money to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, no, not.
They really do. And Anthony Castrovince will back me up.
No, he
on
won't. Ask him if the Royals could field the same
Sure
team
they could.
as the Dodgers.
They could.
Ask him if that would be financially viable for the Kansas City.
I'm going to ask him.
Ask him if the Sacramento A's could sign Juan Soto.
My friend David, who's putting my new bathroom together upstairs, warned me that there was going to be a little bit of an aroma. Are you getting that?
Yep. What is that?
Close the door. I want to make sure I make it through the show. Wow.
What?
Well, I don't know, man.
You good?
I don't know. I think I am, but that's getting to me a little bit. Why don't you go open the front door when we take a break?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I'm not kidding. I think I need some fresh air going through. I know it's cold,
You want me to open the?
but I'm feeling some effect from this substance that he's using.
What does it smell
My
like to you?
shower.
Rotten eggs?
I don't know.
Are we having? Is there a gas leak?
No, there's not a gas leak.
Smells
I just
like rotten.
told you.
Smells like rotten eggs.
Oh God. You know, I'm going to go back to your wife and ask you a question. Okay?
You're gonna go back to my wife
Yeah.
and ask me a
Because
question.
she's a pretty smart person.
Good.
Who do you think's smarter?
Me or her?
You or her?
Based on what? Like
No, just smarter.
no, like based on like common sense, real stuff, like not maybe
IQ.
maybe like intelligence. Me.
You got a higher
She's like
IQ.
an educational better than me. She's better at me than at that stuff.
You can't even put a sentence together.
Like the school subjects, she's
I mean,
better
look
at
and
that.
listen to you right now.
What did I say?
You're talking like you haven't opened a book.
I have opened a
She's
book.
better at the subjects than me, but I mean, it made no
Well,
sense.
How does that? That's made sense to me. She's better at math, science.
Those are the ones, man.
Yeah, reading, numbers. Not math numbers, but like numbers.
You're not that good at numbers.
Stats,
You're
history,
pretty good at reading,
current events. That's all me.
some degree, maybe. How about you or me?
Like life, I'm way smarter than her.
You or me?
Me.
Life.
Me.
Why do you come to me for advice then?
When do I come to you for advice?
All the time.
I don't really come to anybody for advice.
All the time you come to me.
I've got it figured out, man.
Really?
I think so.
When did this happen? When did this confidence, this...
You've been asking me that for like 3 years, so it must have been.
No, this is a recent thing.
I don't think so.
What happened, though?
What do you mean what happened?
What clicked?
Just, I don't know what you're necessarily asking me.
Well, you didn't used to be this confident, so
I'm
what?
not always.
Well, why do you?
But
act
I'm not
like-
gonna bow down. I'm not gonna whimper over here in the,
you'll whimper.
I've never whimpered.
You whimper quite often.
I've never whimpered.
Oh my God!
I don't.
Guardians stink. I can't.
That's not whimpering. That's
I
being a
can't-
fan.
I can't be with them anymore.
Oh, yeah, I've said that.
My gosh,
31 years later, I can't be with him anymore.
you do it all the time.
I don't think I do. But so
Are
do
they
you.
playing any high school basketball tonight with school? I guess we're all
There's a lot
in
of-
tournaments,
a
so
lot
it
of
doesn't really
tournaments.
matter.
There's a lot of tournaments that happen early in the week. Most of them are.
Did we play them last night with the weather?
Yeah. Cheney beat Rose Hill. Andale beat Garden Plain.
There you go.
Those are the only scores I saw or looked up.
Well, that sets up a very good matchup Friday.
Cheney and
Erupt
Andale.
tournament.
I think I might. Maybe I'll go to that game.
Well, you don't live that far.
Yeah, my friend Jamin, his family lives in Cheney, and
What?
his kids go to
When
Cheney.
did they move?
It's been a little while, not too long.
Well, how long?
A couple years, maybe.
Really? Does he still work here in Wichita?
I think. I don't know if he works or
And
what he
moved
does.
to Cheney.
He lives in Cheney.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Good for Jamin.
He's been to a lot of Cheney games.
Well, that's news to me. if somebody said you've got to move to a small town in the area, not Derby, that's not small anymore, not Mays, not Andover.
3A or below.
3A or below. 3A or below?
Yeah, Cheney's 3A. Andale's basically 3A,
I'd
4A.
pick either Halstead or Cheney.
What about Medicine Lodge?
Is that in our area? That's like a all-day drive.
What is Medicine Lodge? What is?
It's a nice town, but it's a little ways away.
What about Douglas?
No, I wouldn't live in Douglas. I spent a lot of time in Douglas.
Winfield's too big.
Winfield would be if I moved anywhere, it would be Winfield.
Here's what I was going to do. All
right, we need a break. We'll come back and get your thoughts about what you're going to do. What were you going to do?
But you looked up yesterday. I was going to give you the name of the mid-season tournament and you tell me who's hosts.
Well, I know them. I didn't look them up. I just looked up one tournament.
All right.
That can be your game later.
Well, I have a game, but I'll play that too.
All right, we'll take a break. Manny Zaferis, who had part of the 1964-65 Shocker Final Four team. They're going to get together at the Drury Inn coming up in February to celebrate. We'll talk about all that with Manny next. This is the Bob and Jeff Show on KFH.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
One and Done, the musical theme of the week. This band had a big hit with Tainted Love, Soft Cell. And that was about it for Soft Cell.
Pretty much.
We're chasing Manny Zaferis, formerly of Wichita State basketball, from a long time ago. Shockers have been to 2 Final Fours. One of them, of course, in 2013. The other in 1965, when the Shockers went out to Corvallis, Oregon, and were handled in the semifinals by UCLA. With a undermanned team that no longer included Dave Stallworth, who had used up his eligibility at the semester break. And you can't relate to this stuff. Nobody can, but it was a much different world. And Nate Bowman, who was declared academically ineligible. So they went out there with a team with no taller starter than Melvin Reed at 6'5". And they were kind of overwhelmed by UCLA losing that game 118-82. Then they lost in the third place game to Princeton.
And Bill Bradley,
who scored a tournament record that was ultimately broken, but at the time, 58 points in that third place game. The Shockers acquitted themselves well. They just didn't have any size.
Yeah, well, they were missing their 2 best players. That arguably, definitely their 1 best player.
Well, no, Nate Bowman was their second best player, their second most important player, because at 6'10", he gave them that man in the middle.
And it would have been nice to see how the Shockers would have fared with those 2 guys on the court.
Well, I think they might have won it.
Probably much better.
This did allow the opportunity for a young player by the name of Jamie Thompson to take on a much bigger role. And in that Final Four, Jamie Thompson was incredible. And he had a tremendous career at Wichita State out of Wichita East High School, where he was teammates with Kelly Pete. And later they both went on to Wichita State and were key parts of that 65 Final Four team.
There you have it.
That kind of intimidated you.
You wrapped that up pretty succinctly. Congratulations.
That was pretty good.
I don't know if I was intimidated.
Well, those teams meant so much to my youth, my pre-10-year-old youth, that I was had the unbelievable fortune. I'm just a kid in Derby. My dad worked at the beach. We didn't have enough money to buy tickets for Shocker basketball, even in those days when I'm sure tickets weren't that much. But I had an aunt who was a professor at Wichita State, and she was given tickets every year, and she gave those tickets to us year after year after year.
It's a heck of a deal.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine?
Did she ever say, actually, I want to use Tulsa's coming in or Cincinnati's coming in?
No, she never did.
I think I'll use that one.
She gave us a whole book of tickets every year.
What
she
an
knew
effort.
how much my dad appreciated it, how much I appreciated it.
Did she ever say, take Bobby next week. I'd like to go with you this week, Ray. Did that ever occur? Just put your microphone up and talk.
You go onto these tangents that don't fit the moment.
I'm a tangent guy.
Yeah, but they don't fit the moment.
What's the moment?
You got to read. When I'm trying to be sincere and, talk about things that matter, did she take
but I'd
tickets
rather
for the Tulsa game?
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I've heard the story 91 times. I'm digging into a little bit more information.
Of course she didn't take the tickets for the Tulsa game.
I'm just asking.
I went to every game.
That's wonderful.
From the time I was 7 years old until, I don't know, I missed a couple because I had, when I got to high school, I had some basketball practices that overlap.
No.
But I didn't miss many Shocker games in those years. Section R, row 23. I can't remember the seat numbers. But that was before they remodeled the Roundhouse.
When you got us season tickets, Section T, row 22.
When did I do that?
In the early 90s. Thanks for that, by the way.
Teams.
Yeah, not great. Really bad.
But you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we had fun.
It's fun to go to Shocker games. It always has been. And I say that as somebody who hasn't been to a Shocker game now in a couple years.
More than a couple, probably.
No, it's been a couple years. When in Isaac Brown's final year, I went to a game. But only one. And
is this Mill's second or third year?
This is his second year. So, I've kind of backed out of that. I still watch them a lot. Although I have to admit, I haven't watched a single second of the last two games.
I watched a little bit of the East Carolina game, unfortunately.
I watched the Thursday game at Memphis.
Yeah, but that's not going to be any fun.
Now, I got to get my Memphis guy on.
Jeff Calkins.
Tomorrow or Thursday.
Who did Memphis recently lose to? Because they dropped in the rankings.
I don't remember who they lost to. I mean, you can't just spring that on me and expect me to know.
Well, you're the guy who knows stuff like that. I may catch it occasionally because I see somebody dropped in the rankings. But am I always going to look at the rankings? No, not really.
Well, that's fine if you don't always look at the rankings. They lost to Temple in Philadelphia by 7. Then they came back to beat Charlotte in Charlotte by 9. They've only lost once in conference, and they've lost other games to Auburn, Mississippi State, and inexplicably to Arkansas State.
Inexplicably. That one doesn't make a lot of sense.
They have a tough stretch here, as tough as it can get in the American, I suppose. As you know, I'm not convinced the American is very good at all. They play at home against Wichita State and UAB, then they go on the road to face Tulane. I suppose that would qualify as a difficult stretch. Right now you've got Memphis, North Texas, Temple, and UAB all at 4-1 in the conference. Tulane at 4-2, South Florida at 3-2, nobody else above 500. Wichita State at 1-4. They are in next to last place. Only Charlotte at 0-6 has had a rougher start in the conference than the Shockers. Not good.
Not good. Still time, but I don't think anyone's abundantly hopeful.
Well, there's still time, but you're running out of time. The only time you have left is to try to get the at-large spot. And that was probably always going to be the case.
You mean the automatic spot?
The automatic spot.
Yes.
You're not going to get the at-large.
No chance.
There's no at-large available in the American except possibly to Memphis if they don't win the conference.
Right. I would say Memphis is pretty firmly in the at-large conversation.
Yeah, unless they just blow it here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put anything past Penny. I've seen enough of Penny Hardaway to know that they could collapse.
Yeah, they don't usually collapse.
You just said the other day that you could see Wichita State beating them. That's how much faith you have.
No, I didn't say that.
You did.
I don't believe
yesterday on the show.
I don't believe that I said that.
You did.
No, I said I now watch Wichita State beat them.
Right.
Like that's not
like it's. You mentioned that it's a possibility.
No, I was throwing that out like Memphis is going to kill them. Now watch them lose or something. Like
you mentioned that it's a possibility.
No, I didn't.
That's how much faith you have in the Penny Hardaway.
I'll always like Penny.
Well, I hope so.
Penny's all we got in this conference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know about that.
This conference used to be stocked with young up and coming coaches. Can you even name the coaches anymore?
No, I don't know the coach.
Who's the UAB coach? No idea.
What's that guy's name? Kennedy.
Billy?
Not Billy. Andy Kennedy.
Oh yeah, he's all right.
I got one.
Good.
You know what? If it is not blatantly obvious,
I probably could have come up with it.
No, you couldn't.
Who's the Temple coach? You don't know.
The new coach, Andy something.
Everybody's Andy to you.
No, it seriously is.
Charlotte? No idea.
No clue.
Texas, San Antonio, new guy. South Florida, new guy, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know this conference. I used to know the conference when I was involved in covering.
Remember when they had
Missouri Valley? I always knew the coaches.
Remember when they had Dawkins and all these other young good coaches?
Is Dawkins a good
Dan
coach?
Hurley was in the frickin' league.
Is Dawkins a good coach?
I don't know, but he was a name.
Well, who's the
Mick Cronin was in the league.
Yeah, but is he a good coach?
He's at UCLA. He's doing all right.
Is he a good coach?
He's pretty good.
Is UCLA really?
Cincinnati fell off, and UCLA got a little better when
Kelvin Sampson coached in this.
Kelvin Sampson coached in the league.
He's a great coach.
Yes, he is.
Arguably the greatest coach.
This was the place to be for young coaches at a time.
You'd put Kelvin Sampson and maybe Dan Hurley in the top 10 coaches of today list.
I wouldn't say maybe Dan Hurley. He's a two-time defender.
Dan Hurley, you're right. So that's pretty good.
Yes.
You wouldn't put Mick Cronin in that list.
I don't believe that I would.
You wouldn't put Penny in that list for sure.
No.
You'd put Bill Self on that list.
Duh.
Who else?
Probably got to put Tom Izzo.
You have to put Nate Oates in that list.
Probably have to put Bruce Pearl on that list.
You probably put Bruce Pearl in that
Probably
list.
have to put Rick Barnes on that list.
Give me a second. Tennessee's one of those programs that, yeah.
There's a bunch of those programs, though.
You gotta win one for me.
Most don't.
At some point.
Chris Beard.
No.
He had a bad ending at wherever he was.
Chris Beard's dead.
Texas. But he's back at Ole Miss doing okay.
Here's Anthony Castrovince from MLB.com, one of their lead writers. He was in Wichita for the Jackie Robinson statue ceremony back in August. Got to meet Anthony. Came on our show, and we appreciate him being on again. Good afternoon, Anthony.
Hello. Nice to hear from you again, Bob.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. I enjoy following you on Twitter and your snarky comments. Am I allowed to say that?
And puns.
They're fun. They're fun. You're a fun follower.
Sure,
I'll
sure.
just put it that
That's,
way.
you got to keep it fun because there's a lot of not fun things going on in our world. So baseball's supposed to be fun. So let's keep it that way.
Yeah, the more fun, the better. So let's start with something that people may not be having a lot of fun with, and that's the Los Angeles Dodgers basically signing everybody who becomes a free agent.
Yeah.
That's obviously an overstatement, but it may not feel that way to some people in baseball right now. What's the fallout of this? Is this a good thing for baseball? Is it a bad thing? Is it just a thing?
Well, I think it's just a thing, really. I think it's a thing we've seen before. It's a sport without a salary cap. They do have luxury tax thresholds that have prevented certain teams and some big teams, the Yankees included, from doing completely crazy things in free agency and with their payroll. But if you are willing to pay the tax, you can do extraordinary things. We saw that with the Mets a couple of years ago, and a lot of the conversations I'm hearing about the Dodgers now, we were having about the Mets 2 years ago, and it turned out that team kind of stunk. I don't think that's going to happen in the Dodgers, but it certainly can. Baseball's a funny sport that way, but I think it's just the nature of the beast when the only limitation is a tax, and it can be a big one. That tax can get pretty monumental if you run up your bill high enough. I think the more interesting conversation is about the deferred money and simply how much money they have deferred for future years. It's not a new tactic by any means. Plenty other teams have done it. Plenty other contracts have had it, but they're running up some pretty significant debt for future years. And I don't know if that's just going to be passed on to another ownership group down the road or who knows what. But that's all a kind of big picture conversation. Maybe it leads to more conversation in the future. I think there's a worthy discussion to be had about both a cap and a floor in MLB and whether that would be good for, the long-term health of the game and for smaller market clubs and that sort of thing to have more of a level competitive field. But it's just really interesting because between injuries and age and having PED testing in this era and clamping down on that, you see some interesting things happen where sometimes it pays to be younger and more flexible and sometimes the little guys take down the big guys that way. So I just kind of roll my eyes at a lot of the conversation about the Dodgers because it's like, A, we've seen this before, and B, nothing's guaranteed in this game. They're going to have a lot of pressure on them, of course, and I'm sure they relish that, and they did get it done last year, but look how they got it done last year. They were really piecing it together pitching-wise where, most of their top starters were on the shelf. That kind of thing happens a lot in our game.
I think there's a sentiment among some people that there's a lot of owners just sitting on their hands, and I agree with that to some extent, but that, if they really had the will to win, that they'd go out and build a team similarly and be active in these free agent and trade markets. How accurate do you think that is? We know that owners don't really open their books. We don't see the finances, but could the Colorado Rockies theoretically say, hey, we're getting Juan Soto and we won't be outbid?
Well, I think they can. I do think, though, that it's just the nature of the game where, certain markets just don't have the revenue streams as other markets. There's a real disparity there. You mentioned the Rockies. They extended Nolan Arenado at one time, and that was their star player, their signature player. Troy Tulowitzki had been there beforehand, and that got away from them. They ended up trading him, but they went all in with Nolan Arenado and very quickly regretted it. I think that's what happens in markets of that size is if you're going to do contracts like that, you have to be willing to do multiple contracts like that. Otherwise, you have one player making up 25-30% of your payroll, and if he regresses or gets hurt, you're in a real bind really quickly. The best teams spread it around and have a pipeline. That's what kind of gets overlooked with the Dodgers is this is not a club that just went out and bought a championship. And this is a club that does everything well. They scout well. They develop well. I mentioned the Mets earlier. They tried to throw money at every problem. They tried to build a champion in free agency. It completely blew up in their face. The sport really doesn't allow you to do that. It's just too multifaceted, and there's too many different dynamics in a 162-game season, plus what it takes to get through the expanded postseason format now. If you don't have that pipeline to start with, if you don't draft well or trade well or develop well, you're not going to be in a position that the Dodgers are where you can then go out and add on, pieces in free agency and be in a really good spot. So you're absolutely right. There's teams that can and should do more, but they do have to be cautious. I'm here in Cleveland, they were able to get their franchise player, Jose Ramirez, to sign a below-market deal. He wanted to be here. he is here, and that contract, it should allow them to do more. They haven't done, I would argue they haven't done enough around him because they got the ALCS last year and probably should be doing more this winter to build off of that. But, those are the one-off situations you need where you're able to lock up a homegrown player and then build around him as opposed to trying to build your club externally. It's almost impossible to do.
Talking with Anthony Castrovince from Major League Baseball, MLB.com. What's your feeling about the Hall of Fame? It looks like we got an opportunity, and our show records a little earlier. We air a little later. The class may have already been announced, but it looks like we have an opportunity to have 6 former players going into this class, all of them worthy. Are you on board with Dick Allen, Dave Parker, obviously already in from the Veterans Committee, and then Ichiro, CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and Carlos Beltran?
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good chance of a pretty big class here as we sit here recording this. I mean, Ichiro is in for sure. The only question is, will he be unanimous? I'm pleasantly surprised by the public balloting for CC, a guy who I covered very early in his career here in Cleveland, was, of course, at the Jackie Robinson statue unveiling out there in Wichita last summer. Great to see him at that. And he's been such a great ambassador for the game, events like that, and just generally, being outspoken and just being such a great representative of the game and had a great career. I am a little surprised. He doesn't have the traditional Hall of Fame numbers in terms of wins and innings necessarily, but you have to judge guys within the context of their era. It's actually interesting. He has the most innings of anybody who's debuted since 1989. He has 251 wins. He has over 3,000 strikeouts. So on some level it is there in terms of the big round numbers. On some levels it isn't. I think he's generally regarded as, one of the premier pitchers of his era, and it's great to see that he has a real chance of being a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he doesn't get in this year, he'll get in next year. And then, it's more iffy. Billy Wagner, he was 5 votes short last year. I think he'll get over the top tonight. Relief pitchers are probably still a little underrepresented in the Hall of Fame, so he should probably be in there. He's in the 400 save club. And then Carlos Beltran, that's an interesting one. His role in the Astros sign-stealing scandal in 2017 probably hurt him in his first ballot and maybe a bit in his second ballot, but that kind of softens over time. At the end of the day, you look up and he's one of the great power-speed combos the game has ever seen. So he might be one where that one seems like a 50-50 ball right now, where it's hard to say how the private ballots will go versus the public ballots that we've already seen, the writers who have made their ballots public. But again, he's another one where if he doesn't get in this year, I like his chances in the next couple of years for sure.
So it's not an apples-to-apples comparison, I don't think at all, but you see voters in the Pro Football Hall of Fame like, hey, Terrell Davis, he had a 2,000-yard season and was done by 28 or something. Hall of Fame. Or Tony Baselli, 4 really good years at tackle, career ends really early, Hall of Famer. Do you think there will ever be a shift to how voters, especially younger voters, look at this? David Wright, I mean, we have so many guys on this ballot who they were Hall of Famers until they were 30, and then they didn't decline well enough, so they're not Hall of Famers. Will there ever be a shift to look more closely at David Wright or Felix Hernandez or some of those guys?
I've seen some support for Felix Hernandez, which I think is good to see because, I mean, there is like a peak there of 6 or 7 years where, again, just utterly dominant, one of the best pitchers of his era. And you have to understand that the role has changed so much, speaking specifically about starting pitchers. We can't expect guys to have 300 wins, to get in the Hall of Fame, or we're never going to have another Hall of Famer. So, everyone's going to have their protocols with that and what they're comfortable with, but I would be comfortable voting for Felix Hernandez. I think Andrew Jones is a really interesting test case for what you're talking about, and we are seeing more support. Andrew Jones he was on 7% of ballots in his first year in 2018. Last year was his 7th ballot, and he's on 61.6%. I think he's going to get in. I don't think it'll be this year. It could be next year, but this year we'll see where he finishes. But that's a guy who his career went off a cliff after 30. But you got to remember that he came up at age 19, and he was one of the best defensive center fielders of all time, and he might have done enough in that age 19 to age 30 that the fall off doesn't matter so much. And, there's an appreciation for what he was able to do within that window of time in his 20s. He wins 10 Gold Gloves. He's a 5-time All-Star. He's one of the best players on a great Braves team. If he gets in, I think that does kind of show a shift in what Hall of Fame voters are willing to let through the door, really. And I say that in a good way because I'm a big Hall guy, and we really have to judge players within the context of their times as opposed to trying to compare everybody to Willie Mays and Babe Ruth. I mean, it's not reasonable. I think we have the metrics now to do a really good job of understanding how a certain era functioned, what was valued at that time. CeCe Sabathia pitching in an era where the bullpens became of greater prominence, and now we're at the point where bullpens often pitch as many or more innings than the starting pitchers. So you have to recalibrate along with that.
Anthony Castrovent's with us. I got one more question, and it's this selfish one. I'm a Cardinals fan for a long, long time. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing this offseason. Nolan Arenado must feel like a pinball. Is Chaim Bloom, who's going to take over after this season from John Mozeliak, is he going to get this thing figured out and straightened out? Are the Cardinals going to kind of be the gold standard, at least in the National League Central, ever again, Anthony?
I think the NL Central, it doesn't take much to become the gold standard there. I think having a good, solid plan in place and executing it, doing well in the drafting, as they've done many times in years past, can point you there. And they have such a supportive fan base that then you can top things off by making moves in free agency. So you could argue they should be trying to do that right now with just given the state of the division. I don't think the Brewers had a tremendous year last year, but they have their challenges for sure. They lost Willie Adames in free agency, and they just generally have a challenge. They traded Devin Williams, so they just generally have a challenge year over year to remain at that level. The Cubs aren't blowing anybody away. The rest of the division, the Reds and Pirates aren't blowing anybody away. So there's opportunity there. It seems like every year. Now I do understand that the way things have blown up in their face the last couple of years, there is an argument to be made to do what they intend to do, which is, get younger, get more, versatile and just, take advantage of what trade chips they have. But to date, they haven't done that. That's why I'm scratching my head right along with you. I'm not sure what's going on there this offseason. I get that Arenado is kind of held up by Alex Bregman's free agency, but still nothing else has happened. Like if you are going to go down the retooling route, then deal Ryan Helsley from that bullpen. There's probably a strong market for him coming off the year he had. So just pick a lane, go for it or don't, but pick a lane. Don't be stuck in the middle. This offseason seems like they're stuck in the middle. As for Chaim Bloom, I have tremendous respect for him. I thought he got a raw deal in Boston. I think you look at, they're one of the they might have the best system in the game right now, and that's a big credit to the work he had done before he was unceremoniously canned. So I think that was a really good gift for the Cardinals. And, if you're going to transition from the Mozeliak era, as they are doing here, Chaim Bloom he's a good way to go, in my opinion.
Anthony, we really appreciate you taking some time to come on with us. We love talking baseball. Nobody better to talk it with. Thank you, and best of luck the rest of the week, and we look forward to spring training.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. Great to talk with you.
Anthony Castrovent. Always enjoy his segments on Hot Stove, and whenever he pops up on the MLB Network.
Very good at what he does.
Well, yeah, he's a Cleveland guy.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that means a lot to you.
Of course it does. He is the Indians beat writer for a while.
All right, coming up next, we've got a game coming up in hour number 2, but first we're going to talk with former Shocker Manny Safaris from the 1964-65 Final Four team. That's next. Stay with us.
Please hang on. Please. This is an official interruption of your local entertainment transmission.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show, starring Bob Lutz.
I got a feeling that there could be somebody driving through town. They own, they run the American Airlines Arena in Dallas.
You're living in a world of make-believe with flowers and bells and leprechauns and magic frogs with funny little hats.
Jeff Lutz.
Yeah, Mark Cuban's listening. Mark Cuban, if you're listening, 316-866.
All right, I'll put this out there.
Are you setting yourself up for disappointment?
Okay.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
All right, we are back. Hour number 2, the Bob and Jeff Show here on KFH Radio. Happy to have you along. We're joined on the hotline by Manny Safaris, who played basketball at Wichita State University from 1962 through 1965, was a member of the Shockers' Final Four team in 1965 as a senior that year out of New York City. Manny, hello, welcome.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you for getting me on. All is well here. How's everything going in Wichita?
It's cold as heck, you know? That's the way it is. So the ceremony to honor... Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to have a big reunion coming up, 60th reunion, which is really unheard of in today's world. 10 years ago, it seems like just a few moments ago, I left Bob Lutz in the Drury Hotel. We were discussing time, the 50-year reunion, and 10 years, and here we go with the 60th reunion. And it's all because we have a leadership in Bob Powers who's taken it upon himself to bring us back. So we thought we were going to say goodbye to everybody 10 years ago, and now we're coming back. It's amazing because this is unique in essence because I don't think this is going to happen elsewhere with the NIL and way basketball is today. You're lucky if you have one or two-year reunions because guys don't stay on teams more than 1 year and they transfer.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah, it's going to be much more difficult. And this reunion coming up on February 15th at the Drury Plaza Hotel, a handful of former Shockers are going to be back, including Manny, Dave Leach, Gerald Riemann, Tommy Newman, Melvin Reed, Bob Powers, the widow of Ron Heller, who was a coach on that team, and then Gloria Stallworth, the widow of the great Dave Stallworth, will also be in attendance. I got to ask you, Manny, you had a ringside seat for a lot of this. You were a backup guard for the Shockers during your time here. Some of the greatest Shockers of all time played in this era. What stood out to you about Dave Stallworth?
Oh, on and off the court, it was one of a kind. He was an All-American. He was an alternate on the Olympic team back then. But the beauty of Dave was off the court, he was very energetic, very comforting. He told me, Manny, hang in there. You'll get some playing time. Not only that, when he played for the New York Knickerbockers in New York, I lived in New York after I got out of college. He would always get me seats to go to Madison Square Garden to see him play. I didn't want to impose on him. And be honest with you, when he had that slight heart attack, I visited him in the hospital. And the first thing when I went up there, he was asking me about me rather than me asking him about him. That's the kind of person he was. He cared for people a lot off the court. And a lot of people knew about his greatness on the court, but they didn't know what kind of man he was off the court. And to this day, I'll never forget the wonderful things he did for me and my family in New York and even in Wichita out there.
You know, Wichita State for a little while had a decent little pipeline going from New York to Wichita State. So how did that happen for you? What drew your attention to Wichita State? What brought you here, and what were your initial impressions of Wichita?
Well, what brought me there was Ralph Miller. I had heard about him. I had graduated George Washington High School and looking for a school to play ball, and he was very comforting in my conversation with him. And he said, come on out here, because, I was a walk-on. Come out here and let's see what can be done. And apparently, my freshman ball then, I impressed him a little. And then sophomore year, I asked him if I could come back, and he said, yeah, come on back. And I made the team. I was so excited. Called my parents and saying, I made this team, Missouri Valley. The Missouri Valley was the conference to beat. It was like the ACC is now, Missouri Valley with Cincinnati Bradley and all that. And from then on, junior year, we were supposed to go to the Final Four in the junior year. I remember we played Kansas State at our place in the regional finals. And Dave had a great game, but unfortunately, K-State, upended us in a surprise win for them, and we didn't go to Kansas City. That's where the Final Four was. And then in our senior year, we lost Dave. We lost Nate. Dave's eligibility. Dave eligibility was up and Nate had flunked out, and we only had 5 guys. We had nobody over 6'5", and all 5 starters were from the metropolitan area in Kansas. And it was great. And the thing I remember most is when we were in the regionals then, you won your conference. We won the conference then. And we went up to Manhattan, Kansas, and played at the Ahern Fieldhouse then. I don't think it's in existence anymore. We played SMU the first game. We beat them. But the second game, we were heavily underdogs, I think, by 12 or 13 points. But we were playing Oklahoma State, coached by the inevitable Hank Iba. And Hank Iba was something. And in that game, Gary Thompson was our coach at that time. I think Gary played maybe 5 or 6 players. We beat Oklahoma State at their own game. I think we beat them by 12. We were underdogs by 12, sending us to the Final Four, which was, we celebrated the whole night. It was a moment in time in my life that I'll never forget when that horn went off and we won and we went in the locker room. It was just phenomenal. Just a moment in time in your life that you never forget. And then we had a motorcycle escort back into Wichita. When we took the bus back, we had a lot of people waiting for us at the field house, and it was great. Preparing to go to Portland, Oregon. Things that you never forget, It was just great.
It was an unbelievable time. I was 10 years old and watched that on some kind of pay-per-view thing, and just incredible. Right. Manny Safaris is our guest from formerly Wichita State basketball. They'll be celebrating their Final Four 60th year coming up on February 15th at the Drury Plaza Hotel. So just to talk to you a little bit more about the personnel on the team, you mentioned the guys that were left to start after the departure of Dave Stallworth and Nate Bowman. And you mentioned the 5 from the Wichita area. Let's go ahead and talk about those guys. John Chris from Wichita Southeast, Vernon Smith of Newton, Jamie Thompson of Wichita East, Kelly Pete also of Wichita East, and Dave Leach of McPherson. That couldn't happen in today's world either, that 5 local guys basically take a team to a Final Four.
Exactly. And we didn't have size then either, but we had smart. We had Gary Thompson was a great coach, played good control ball, didn't turn the ball over. And even when we lost Dave and Nate at mid-year, we continued to win with those 5 guys. It was incredible. I got to tell you. And the one thing about all 5 of them, Dave was a corner shooter. He never missed. Kelly Pete was a rebounder. He was a shooter. John Chris, of course, out of Southeast High School, was excellent. And Vernon Smith, who was a transfer from Oklahoma State, Ralph had brought him in, was just excellent. Smart on the boards, a good shooter, very good court sense. And Jamie Thompson out of East High School. How could you not mention Jamie Thompson was excellent. He was a sophomore then, played like a senior. He was our top scorer in Portland, Oregon when we went to play UCLA and then Princeton in the consolation game. And all 5, nobody over 6'5". We had guys on the bench. Jerry Davis was 6'10". We had Mel Reed, but they were replacements. But the 5 usually played there. It was you'll never have that in today's world because the game has changed. They're playing more above the rim than below the rim. And that'll never happen again. It's a moment of time. By the way, just to mention some experience I had, in our final game against Drake at the Fieldhouse, Gary Thompson announced that he was going to start the 5 seniors. And I was one of the seniors. One of them was Dave Leach. The other was Vern Smith. The other was Larry Nosage. And the other, I believe, was Jerry Raymond. And when Gary announced that in the locker room, I almost passed out. I almost passed out. I said, I'm starting. And John came over and Kelly came over and said, hey, listen, relax. You're going to take our place out there. Really? So I'm going on the court. It's a moment in time. I'll never forget starting against Drake University. We played maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Gary left us in there. We won that game. And that's a moment in time that Gary Thompson started 5 seniors in that game, which was incredible. A moment in time I'll never forget. It's just that's what Wichita was all about then, and it still is.
No doubt. So I got to ask you, and I may have asked you before, but it's maybe the most asked question about Wichita State basketball, certainly from that era. Had the Shockers had Nate Bowman and Dave Stallworth for the full 1963-64 season, 64-65, would they have won the national championship? You think you would have beaten UCLA and had the firepower to beat teams like Princeton?
To be honest with you, I think we would have. I think we would have. Now, we played UCLA in the semifinal game at Memorial Coliseum in Portland, Oregon. Okay, they had Goodrich, they had Erickson, they had a lot of guys, and they played that 1-2-1-1 full court press. Okay, we didn't have the size to go up against them. We didn't have an All-American that Dave could break up that press and stuff like that. So we didn't have the rebounding of Nate Bowman. Had we had those two guys, and we had them the previous year, when we could have went to the Final Four. My feeling is, and you can ask any of the members that were on that team that year, I think we had a good shot to beat UCLA. I'm sure we would have beat Princeton. But, Princeton was there. Bill Bradley scored 58 points that time in the consolation round. But in the game that we played against UCLA in that semifinal, we went down early. They pressed us. They out-rebounded us. Goodrich was hitting from all corners, and you had John Wood coaching him. We didn't have those two All-Americans. My feeling is that we had a good chance to at least stay with them, and probably, if the game was close at the end, probably take them out. Probably would have beat them. Yeah, we're never going to know. It would have been a
36-point loss.
No, definitely not. And we also lost big to Princeton, but it was a consolation game and that, and it was all that. But we wouldn't have lost by 36. Definitely. I think it would have been an exciting game. That was Princeton. That was UCLA's start with John Wooden the year before, and he had guys like Erickson and Goodrich, and I think Freddie Goss was on that team too. Keith Erickson, another rebounder. They played smart, but if we had those two, it would have been a different story. No question. I want the audience to know that we could have won the NCAA championship.
And when people talk about the greatest players in college basketball, when people talk about the greatest players in college basketball history, they don't often bring up Gail Goodrich, but for my money, he should be in that conversation. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Not only was he a shooter in the corner, he could go on the dribble, smart, everything. Gail Goodrich went on to the Lakers. This guy was the beginning. I don't know if he was a senior then. I think he might have been a senior or junior. I believe he was a junior. Erickson was on that team too. But that UCLA team, that was the second year Wooden was going. I think they lost in '66 to. They didn't make it. They didn't make the Final Four then. I think it was Kentucky and Texas Western, El Paso, and Ryder was playing. But UCLA, John Wooden was just the beginning of a lot of things going on. But things that we'll never forget. That we had the opportunity. But you know something? We had a big opportunity the year before when we were at home hosting the regional final against K-State. When they had Willie Morrell, Jeff Simon. You might remember those names. You may not.
I was at the game, Manny, and it about killed me. So yeah, let's not talk about that, okay?
Oh my God! Yeah, I'm sorry to bring that up. That was a big disappointment. And Ralph Miller was coaching them before he left for Iowa, I believe. Yeah.
Well, Manny, it's been a great pleasure to catch up with you. We look forward to seeing you in less than a month now for the reunion of the 60-year Shocker Final Four team from 1965 at the Drury Plaza Hotel. Manny, thank you. Have safe travels when you come to Wichita, okay?
Thanks. I'll probably dress up warm, correct?
You probably should, yes. It's not Florida.
Thank you so much.
Manny Safaris from Shocker Basketball. Fun to talk to him. Great memories.
That was good stuff.
Yeah. It's just such an impactful part of my life. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back, and Jeff will have a game for us on a Tuesday edition of the Bob and Jeff Show, KFH.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Ain't got no trouble in my life. No
Kiki D did have a big hit with Elton John, but she had this solo. I Got the Music in Me from Kiki D.
Kiki D.
One and only.
Don't go
one
breaking
and
my
done.
heart.
The musical theme. Congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are your 2024 college football national champions, and they helped Jason Duda, certainly helped Jason Duda avoid what could have been a difficult one, because other than losing his bonus game, he only lost one other game.
Crazy.
And so he comes up with 22 points, and I only gained 5 points on him, and I got my bonus game for 10 and only gained 5. That's not good.
Wow. Riveting.
You missed both last night as well.
I said over.
Oh, yeah, you did. Good for you.
Come on, man.
So you came up with 28 points. You won the week.
Of course I did.
Don't act like you're some.
Of course I did.
Like you're some guy. Max, it is
Time to play the game.
It is time to play the game here on KFH, the Bob and Jeff Show. What's the game?
Just going to give you the celebrity. You're going to tell me how old they are if you get it.
What was that game you talked about in hour number one?
We'll do that next segment. About
what was it?
Telling you the name of the midseason tournament. You tell me where it is. But right now we're going to do the celebrity age game, which we bring back every quarter or so, maybe every 6 months, maybe once a year.
You keeping track of the score?
Yeah, if you get it on the nose, and it's between you and Max, if you get it on the nose, you get 2 points. If you don't get it, the other person says higher or lower, and if they get it right, 1 point.
I'll go first.
If they don't, they don't. The other person gets a point. All right, you go first. Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings.
The host of Jeopardy.
47.
Max, higher or lower than 47 years old?
I think it's lower.
He is 50.
He looks young.
And that would be a point for Bob.
All right.
Yeah.
Love this game.
Max, Joy.
Don't I get something for being within 3 years?
No. It's just straight up higher or lower. Max, Joy Behar of The View.
Yes.
Fame.
I'd say she's 61.
Much higher.
Yeah. She's 82.
Get out of here.
She's been on the View for 61 years. Good God, Max.
Kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Toby Maguire for Bob.
Toby Maguire.
Yeah. Spider-Man.
I met him
46.
Once.
Max, higher or lower than 46?
I think he's a little higher.
He is a little higher. Somehow he's 49.
Wow.
I thought
I'm right in the ballpark on all of these.
I thought that one would trip you up a little bit, because who would think Toby Maguire with that baby face would be 49 years old?
He's been around forever.
He's been around for a while. Max, Selma Hayek.
53.
A little higher.
A little higher, 58. It's 3-1.
I'm so good at this game. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Angela Bassett.
Ooh, that's tough. That one is hard.
Could be.
60.
Max, higher or lower?
Higher.
Yeah, she's 66.
Dang it.
3-2. Back to Max for this one. Jack Black.
I'd say he's 55.
That is correct for 2 points.
What?
He is 55 years old, and Max has taken a 4-3 lead.
Well, that's a travesty.
I don't know what to tell you. Rihanna.
That's a tough one. 40.
Max, higher or lower?
Lower.
That's correct. 36 years old.
What?
And she's a youngster.
Rihanna, 36. Youngster. Who's up here? Max? Natalie Portman.
She started young in that Star Wars thing. 47.
Younger.
That is correct. She is 43. Bob, Nev Campbell.
Nev Campbell's been around forever. Of course, she was young.
Wild thing.
I'll say 45.
Max, higher or lower than 45?
Slightly higher.
Yeah, she's 51 years old.
What? I don't believe it.
I don't either. That's crazy, isn't it? Max, Barry Manilow.
82.
Higher or lower than 82?
That's close. He's a little older than 80.
He's a little younger. He's 81. It is 7-4, Max.
This plastic surgery that fooled you, Bob.
Weird Al Yankovic.
64.
Max, higher or lower than 64?
Slightly lower. Probably higher.
Slightly higher. He's 65 years old.
I get all these right on. And I'm losing?
You're
Doesn't
losing.
make any sense.
Because Max got one literally right on. Max, Timothy Chalamet.
I wish I knew who that was.
Willy Wonka. He's Bob Dylan in the movie.
Oh, God.
It's out now?
Yeah. I saw that trailer. I want to see that movie. I'd say he's 28.
Higher or lower
He's older than 28.
He's barely older than 28. He's 29.
Well, that's what I say.
Well, you
older
acted
than
like
28.
you acted like he's 53.
No, I said he's older than 28.
Bob, Katie Seagal.
Peg Bundy.
Goodness.
Peg Bundy.
71.
Correct.
Wow.
Wow, she's 70? Oh, my God.
Max.
What's the
Her
score now?
8-7. You lead.
Wait, I only took a 1-point lead?
Yeah, you were down 1. Now you're up 1. Max, her Married with Children co-star, Ed O'Neill.
Al. 73.
Older.
Yep, 78.
No, Al can't be 78.
I am killing this now.
Bob.
How many more we got?
I don't know, 7 or 8, 9, 10 maybe. Sophia Loren.
Well, that's just unbelievable. I mean, she was a star when I was a kid. 86.
Higher or lower, Max?
Higher.
She's 90.
Goodness gracious.
Goodness gracious is correct. Who's up?
Max is.
Max. Eminem.
Ugh. I'd say he's, let's see, when did he come out? I don't know. 48.
He's older.
52. Bob's starting to run away with this a little bit.
What's our score?
10-8.
That's all?
Yeah, I thought it was 10-7, but it's
I've
8.
got to have more. I don't think you keep score well.
I do, and this is the score. It's 10-8. Bob, Danny DeVito.
Ooh, that's a tough one. 77.
Max, higher or lower?
Higher.
He's 80.
Dang it. Max could be looking all this up.
I'm not
10-9.
Yeah.
He's not. Max, Mariska Hargitay.
Oh, Jane Mansfield's kid. 64.
Ooh, that's close. She's a little younger.
Yep, she's 60. Bob, Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper. We go back to the 80s with Cyndi Lauper. When she was in her early 20s. She's probably in the 65 range.
Max, higher or lower than 65?
I think she's a little higher.
Yeah, she's 71.
What?
11-10.
I've given up on the score. You don't keep an accurate score.
That's the score, man. You can go back and listen to it if you want. Elliot Gould.
That's Max's.
Max, Elliot Gould.
Is he still alive?
That's what I was going to say.
I don't think he's alive.
Is he not?
No, I'm pretty sure he passed away.
I think he is alive. I do think he is alive.
I mean, the thing that I looked up today said he was alive.
I would say Elliot Gould.
Yeah, he's alive.
Really? 88.
Higher or lower?
88. That's close. I'll go a couple years younger.
Yeah, that's literally correct. He is a couple years younger at 86. You lead 12-10. We'll do one more. Dan Rather.
92.
Max, higher or lower than 92?
I think he's a little lower.
He's 93.
Really? Jeez,
Yeah.
You know you're old, Bob. When he's... God.
There's not many left. Pink.
Hank.
Well, haven't I won this thing?
Yeah, I think you've won it, but we'll finish this.
Pink must be 41.
Higher or lower?
Pink, 41. That's pretty close. I'll say she's slightly older.
She is. She's 45. It's 14-10. It's probably over. Last round. Bob, Brigitte Bardot.
Got to come and see me every night, said Elton John.
I love Brigitte Bardot back in the day. She's still alive?
Yep.
Well, she's in that Sophia Loren category. They're probably right about the same age.
Probably.
I'll say Brigitte Bardot. Can we just call her Bridget Bardot?
I don't know. Is that her name?
I'll say she's a year younger, 89.
Max, higher or lower?
Higher.
Yeah, she's also 90. They're both 90.
Well, what did I just say?
89.
But what did I just say before that? She's right in that same area.
Yeah, well, you should have said that. And Max, finally, Roseanne Barr.
62.
Higher.
Yeah, she's 72.
Really?
That's your ball game, 15-11.
Bob knows his
Bob
star's
will
age.
win.
Congratulations.
I killed that game.
You did well. You did fine. Max did pretty well.
Max did okay.
You did pretty well.
He did fine.
You did pretty well.
I won.
You
All
did
right.
win.
All right. What do you have? What are you going to ask me here?
I'm going to give you the boys mid-season
None of
tournament.
the girls.
Not right now. Next week maybe. When they're in full force. You're going to tell me. I'm going to give you the name of the tournament. You're going to tell me who hosts it.
All right. I look forward to it.
The 54 Classic.
That's a new one. I'm not aware.
Is it?
Buckland.
No, it's Cunningham.
Well, Buckland's hosted it in the past.
I'm sure they have. How about the Bill Hansen Invitational?
That's a new one, too.
It is?
Yeah.
Who the heck is Bill Hansen?
I don't know. Osawatomie.
Pittsburgh.
Bill Hansen?
Yeah. The Roadrunner Classic.
That's Anthony Harper Chaparral.
Yeah, that's
I don't know who Bill Hansen is.
Surely he's a guy from the 60s. I mean, it's not like Bill Hansen just showed up in 2009 and said, hey, do you mind if we name it the tournament after you? I know you're 26, but we see this going a while. I don't think that's something that happened at all.
He died in 2017. He was a coach.
Presumably in Pittsburgh.
Let's see here.
Coach
He went to high school in California, graduated from Ottawa University, got his master's at Pittsburgh State, and coached at Montezuma, where he started boys basketball.
South Gray.
And then he came to Pittsburgh.
Impressive. I'm surprised you didn't know that.
He coached girls and boys basketball at Pittsburgh Community Middle School after he returned. Hey, listen, Bill, you did a fine job, but
I've lost him.
I don't know who. I don't know you. Next.
Figured that would have been something that was bumped around in the newsroom at some point.
I wasn't there.
How about the Eli J. Walter Invitational?
The Eli J. Walter.
You're supposed to know these guys. These are legends around our state. These are guys that put in the time, started basketball at communities that we revere. And Eli J. Walter was certainly one of those people.
It's hosted by Berean Academy.
Out in Elbing, Kansas.
I have no idea who Eli J. Walter is.
I wonder if our friend Dwayne Frazier is listening.
No, he doesn't know.
He knows the Eli J. Walter Invitational. He's probably
Eli Walter died in 2018. He was 96 years old.
Yeah, I'm saying.
He was born in Hitchcock, South Dakota. Second oldest of 10 children out in Hitchcock. Let's see here. Doesn't say much about what he did. He was a founding teacher at Sunshine Bible Academy in Miller, South Dakota. Taught.
Are you sure this is the same guy?
At Berean Academy for 25 years, but was not a coach.
Okay, well that makes sense. But still, hey, who's covering the Eli? Who's covering the Walter?
All right, next.
What about the Four-State Classic?
The Four-State Classic is down in the southeastern part of the state.
Yeah, that's right.
That's hosted by, gosh, what is the name of that town down there?
It's alliterative, the Four-State Classic.
Yeah, the Four-State Classic hosted by, give me the first name of the town.
I just did. It's alliterative, F.
What is the name of that? Fort Scott.
Frontenac.
Down there in the southeastern part of our state.
The War on 54. Really?
What?
The War on 54.
The War on 54.
I'll give you some of the teams that are in this tournament.
All right.
Humboldt plays St. Paul.
All right.
Colony Crest plays the host of the tournament. Marmarton Valley plays Yates.
That's got to be Eureka.
And Anderson County plays
Fort Scott.
Cherryvale. It's Iola.
Iola.
You're right in. What about this one? The Ken Holt Memorial Classic. You're also again in the right part of the state. If you want any information on our boy Kenny Holt, who was a legend in this southeast Kansas community.
The Kenny Holt Memorial Classic is in Uniontown.
Yes.
Kenny Holt. Good job, Kenny.
What'd he do?
Can't find anything.
Wonder what he did.
He's got a tournament named after him, which is more than I have. So I don't know who Kenny Holt is.
Well, let's find out. I'm going to also kind of try to look it up.
Just go to the next tournament.
Well, this one's easy. Everyone knows Kenneth Holt. He was only 67 when he passed away, so we're very sorry to hear that. Born in Pensacola, graduated from Uniontown in the class of 1970.
What a nice guy.
Doesn't appear that
he loved coaching basketball, was the assistant coach, became the head coach of the girls team in 2000 until 2013. Kenny
came back
Holt.
for another stint.
Kenny Holt did a nice job over there. Next.
The Ralph Miller Classic.
Chanute. Next.
Yeah, I got to go back. I lost my page when I was looking up Kenny. We know the Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, Dodge City.
We know the Adolph Rupp Classic.
Halstead.
I mean, those are easy. All these have
Go
their
for it.
The Tony Dubray Classic. This is not in Kansas.
Then why would I know that?
It's in Liberal, Missouri.
Why would I know that?
The January Jam.
Oh, where is that thing? Emporia.
No, that's in Valley Center.
They call it the January Jam?
Yes. I wonder why they didn't ask me to host judge the dunk,
I didn't get asked
the dunk
this year.
contest. Who's doing that if not us?
I didn't get asked this year.
Do you know who does the Orange and Black Classic?
Yeah, that's Colby.
Yeah, it is. That's pretty much it.
That's it?
What about the Trojan Classic?
Oh gosh, I'll know it when you say it. What is it? Give me the teams in it.
Holcomb, Moundridge, Clay Center, Eureka, Riley County,
That's
Heston,
Moundridge,
and Remington. No, I wouldn't have said it if they.
What is it?
Hillsboro.
Oh yeah, it's a good tournament.
Yeah, it's all right.
No, that's a pretty good tournament.
There's Kenny Holt again with the girls.
I wouldn't mind getting up for that tournament. I'd love to go out to Dodge City.
Where do you think?
If it's Heights and Derby on Saturday night, is there any chance I'll head out?
No. But it would be fun.
You're right. There's no chance because I've got a Passion Project speaker, Jeff Herndon from KSN.
I've never heard of him.
How do they feel about that over at KWCH?
Hasn't come up, believe it or not.
I'm shocked.
Why?
I just figured that, you get that kind of a gig.
How come you haven't asked Ross Jansen or Michael Schwenke? Do they not have passion?
I know Jeff better. I know Jeff. I don't know Michael Schwenke.
Wonderful human.
Well, I'm sure he's a great guy. But I don't know him, so I went with the guy I know.
Okay, well, haven't there been people that you've asked to speak who you don't know?
Sure there have.
All right.
And when I get a meteorologist, I'll look at Ross.
Ross, he loves weather.
But I'll look at Lisa Teachman as well.
Well, you should look at all of our Storm Team 12 meteorologists.
Sure, I will.
You should look
into him.
You should look at Jake Dunn. You should look at.
Well, Jake Dunn's got a great story. Let's see, he's out there running 900 marathons.
Yeah, exactly. Nearly died on set.
Huh?
Nearly died on set.
He did?
Like last year.
What happened?
I don't know. He had like a mini stroke.
Does he want that out there?
I'm thinking of somebody else.
My God, you've just told us that one of your employees, your fellow employees, nearly died on screen, and you got it wrong.
Not on screen.
You just said that.
No, he was on set. He wasn't on air.
Was it him?
Yeah. Yes. But I'm saying if it wasn't him, if I wasn't supposed to have said that, then it wasn't him.
What in the world are you doing?
I mean, but he told us. Jake Dunn's a wonderful guy. I'm sure he'd be very open.
You better hope he is.
I'd be very open to talking about it if I were him.
We've had him on the show, haven't we?
Yes, I'm sure we'll have him
in Duda.
Yes. I'm going to be working on my Joe Hour piece. I
was hoping to have Thursday off, but apparently that can't happen.
Well, you can have a day off next week.
I'm going to take more than a day at some point.
Well, then I will too.
Well, we got to find people who can step in.
I understand. We actually recorded from, 5 to 7, which we do. other people would be able to jump in also.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how bright you are. I really don't.
I'm not running from facts.
I don't think you. I just don't think you either. You don't think things through, or just your brain. Your brain doesn't work right.
I'm not this guy who avoids topics. Just not that guy.
You're just not bright.
Just not that guy.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You're making my point for me.
Because I am open and talk about things?
Because you don't think. You don't think.
No, I thought.
All I want is people who think.
I thought.
I just admire.
And I'm not afraid.
I admire people who think.
I think and I jump in.
Right.
That's what I do.
Oh, God. You're such a macho man.
Thank you. I'm not trying to be macho. I'm just telling you.
I think and I jump in.
Well, I do.
I jump in.
You don't.
I do.
You're this timid guy who's a little afraid.
I jump in.
And that's okay.
I'll jump.
Not everyone has my personality.
Get out of here, would you?
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Good. We'll see you tomorrow. It's yours truly, Jason Duda, on a Wednesday. Thanks for listening.